The calm before the storm emerges empire. In a quiet land, long after the great wars had ended, life had found a way to return to normal. The people of the Emerges Empire lived in a calm and steady peace. Every day, the sun rose over gentle hills and warm fields, and the citizens went about their work with quiet determination. Markets filled with fresh produce, and the laughter of children playing in the streets filled the air. Yet beneath this calm, an unseen force began to stir, as if the earth itself whispered secrets of an approaching storm. In a small village at the edge of the empire, a young man named Arlen lived a simple life. He worked in the fields during the day and listened to the elders' stories in the evenings. Arlen was known for his kind heart and clear mind. Though the scars of past battles still marked the memories of many, the villagers believed that those dark days were now behind them. They trusted in the strength of their leaders and the promise of a peaceful future. One warm summer evening, as Arlen sat outside his modest home, he noticed something strange in the sky. A soft glow appeared on the horizon, unusual for that time of night. It was not the familiar light of the moon or the gentle stars, but a light that pulsed slowly like the beating of a heart. Arlen felt a shiver run down his spine, though he could not say why. The light soon faded away, leaving him with a sense of wonder and unease. That night, as the village slept under the quiet blanket of darkness, a gentle wind began to blow. The leaves of the ancient trees rustled in a way that seemed to speak of old secrets and forgotten times. The elders who had once fought in the great wars spoke in hushed tones about legends of a time when the earth would call upon its champions. They recalled tales of a mighty human force that would rise when the world needed hope the most. Although these stories were told with a sense of myth and nostalgia, the night carried an undercurrent of truth that was hard to ignore. The next morning, the village awoke to a sense of stillness that felt heavier than usual. The air was crisp and the usual chorus of birdsong was subdued. Arlen, like many others, felt that something had changed overnight. As he walked to the market, he noticed that people whispered and exchanged worried glances. The old storyteller, a man named Taven, began to share his memories of a time when the earth had been unsettled by the forces of fate. His eyes shone with a light that was both fearful and hopeful, as if he held a secret that the rest of the world had yet to understand. Days passed, and the signs of change grew clearer. The once calm sky now sometimes showed strange patterns of light and dark, and the wind would carry odd sounds that no one could explain. Farmers reported that their crops swayed even when the air was still, and animals acted with a restlessness that mirrored the growing tension among the people. Despite these signs, life in the Emerges Empire continued in its usual gentle rhythm, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Arlen found himself drawn to these mysteries. He would often walk along the borders of the village, gazing at the distant hills where the light had first appeared. In the quiet of the early morning, he felt as if the land was trying to tell him something important. His dreams were filled with images of a powerful figure rising from the shadows, a human warrior of great strength and purpose. Though he could not understand these dreams at first, they began to feel like a message, urging him to pay close attention to the signs around him. One day, while tending to the fields, Arlen noticed a small worn token near an old stone well. It was a simple medallion with a faint inscription that he did not recognize. Holding it in his hand, he felt a strange warmth spread through his fingers. The medallion seemed to hum with a quiet power, as if it carried the memory of battles long past and the promise of challenges yet to come. This discovery filled Arlen with both excitement and a hint of dread. As the days continued, the people of the Emerges Empire began to sense that their calm was not meant to last forever. There was a growing whisper among the villagers that something extraordinary was about to happen, a force that would change their lives forever. The stories of old, once thought to be just fairy tales, began to echo in every conversation. The land, the skies, and even the very hearts of the people seemed to prepare for a shift, a turning point in the story of their empire. Arlen, now more curious and determined than ever, decided to keep the medallion safe. He felt that it was a sign, a small piece of a puzzle that would soon reveal the truth about the strange light and the stirring of the earth. In the quiet of that calm before the storm, he made a silent vow to follow the path laid out by fate, even if it led him into unknown dangers. Thus, as the Emerges Empire rested in its peaceful days, the stage was set for a dramatic change. Unbeknownst to its people, the calm was only a pause, a moment of silence before the coming storm. And in that silence, the seeds of a great destiny were quietly being sown. The quiet gathering, Emerges Empire. In the days that followed the strange events, a quiet sense of curiosity spread throughout the land. The people of the Emerges Empire, who had grown accustomed to a life of calm routine, began to notice that the whispers of change were growing louder. In small groups, neighbors and friends gathered in secret corners of the village to talk about the unusual lights in the sky, the odd wind that carried mysterious sounds, and the unexplained token that Arlen had found. These gatherings were gentle and unassuming, yet the air was filled with a tension that no one could quite ignore. At the heart of one such meeting sat Taven, the village elder. Known for his wisdom and his deep understanding of the old legends, Taven had lived through many storms, both in war and in peace. He listened carefully as villagers recounted their experiences of the recent strange events. His eyes, clouded with age yet bright with insight, held a mix of worry and hope. Taven explained that many years ago, similar signs had been seen, and they always foretold a change, a turning of the tide that came from unexpected forces. His words, spoken in a soft yet firm voice, gave the gathering a sense of purpose. Among those who came to listen was Captain Roland, a brave soldier who had once fought on distant battlefields. Now retired from the front lines, Roland had returned to the village to find peace. However, the old warrior could not ignore the pull of destiny. His rugged face showed lines of both strength and sorrow, a reminder of battles past. He shared his own experiences of war and spoke of how the calm before a storm often hid a power that could change everything. His steady tone and measured words reassured the villagers, even as they left him with more questions than answers. Young Mira, a curious and bright-eyed teenager, was also drawn to these secret meetings. Unlike the older generations who carried the weight of past conflicts, Mira was filled with wonder and excitement at the possibility of a new adventure. She listened with wide eyes as Taven spoke of legends, and her heart raced with the thought that perhaps these signs were the beginning of a grand tale. Mira's questions were many, and her mind, eager to learn, saw possibilities where others saw only danger. Her youthful energy brought a spark to the gathering, reminding everyone that hope often comes in many forms. As the meeting progressed, Arlen, who had kept the mysterious medallion safely in his pocket, realized that the token might be more than a simple keepsake. It could be the key to understanding the true nature of the events that had unsettled their once peaceful life. With a quiet determination, he stepped forward and showed the medallion to the group. The token glowed softly in the light of the flickering lanterns, its surface etched with symbols that no one could fully decipher. Taven's eyes widened as he recognized some of the ancient markings. He whispered that the symbols belonged to a time when great warriors were born from the trials of the earth, and they were meant to guide humanity in moments of great need. The villagers sat in silence for a moment, each lost in thought. They began to see that the gathering was not a random coincidence, but perhaps a deliberate coming together of hearts and minds, prepared to face the unknown. Taven suggested that they form a small council, a group that would meet regularly to share news and piece together the meaning behind these omens. He believed that the signs were pointing towards the return of a legendary force, a human juggernaut who would rise to challenge fate and change the course of history. Captain Roland nodded in agreement. He offered to lead a group of brave souls who were willing to explore the strange areas around the village. "We must understand what we face," he said, his voice carrying the weight of past battles. "If there is a power at work, we need to be ready, not with fear, but with the strength and courage that defines our people." Mira, her eyes shining with determination, volunteered to help in any way she could. She was eager to learn from the elders and the soldiers, and her enthusiasm was a reminder that sometimes the spark of youth could light the way through darkness. The council agreed that every small clue was important. They planned to meet at sunrise the next day, sharing any observations and planning further exploration. As the meeting ended, the quiet gathering of the villagers slowly dispersed into the cool night. The calm of the Emerges Empire had given way to a subtle but unmistakable feeling of unity. The people understood that they were on the brink of something extraordinary, a shift in the balance that might bring both challenges and hope. Arlen walked home under the starry sky, the medallion safely tucked in his pocket. In his heart, he felt a growing connection to the legends of old and the promise of a mighty force yet to be seen. With each step, the silent bond among the villagers grew stronger. They were no longer just a collection of individuals living separate lives. They were a community united by a shared mystery and an unspoken promise to face the coming storm together with courage, unity, and the resilient spirit of the human heart. Shadows and whispers. Emerges Empire. Night had fallen over the Emerges Empire once again, and with it came a deeper sense of mystery. The once quiet evenings now echoed with soft, almost secretive sounds that made the villagers wonder if something beyond their understanding was at play. In every corner of the village, shadows seemed to stretch a little longer, and faint whispers filled the air, as if the wind itself carried hidden messages. Arlen, still holding the medallion close to his heart, found himself unable to shake the feeling that the land was trying to speak to him. Each night, as he sat outside his small home, he noticed that the familiar outlines of trees and rocks began to shift under the moonlight. The subtle movements of the shadows felt alive, as if they were watching and waiting. Though the changes were small, they were enough to send a ripple of unease through him. In the gathering of the village council, Taven spoke of old prophecies that hinted at a time when the earth would whisper its secrets through the darkness. Shadows and whispers, he said in a calm, steady tone, are signs that something ancient is stirring beneath our feet. His words brought a mixture of fear and fascination among the council members. Captain Roland, with his weathered face and battle-worn hands, nodded in agreement. He recalled many nights in the past when the world felt like it held its breath before great change. As the days grew shorter and the nights longer, more and more villagers began to report strange occurrences. Some said they saw ghostly shapes moving behind the trees. Others heard soft, almost musical murmurs carried by the breeze. Even the animals behaved oddly. Cows were restless in their barns, and dogs would bark at empty fields as if trying to warn their owners of an unseen presence. One evening, Mira joined Arlen as he walked along the edge of the village. The sky was clear, and the stars twinkled like tiny secrets scattered across a deep, dark cloth. "Arlen," she asked quietly, "do you feel it too? Like there is something watching us in the dark?" Her eyes were wide with a mix of curiosity and a hint of fear. Arlen looked at her and nodded, realizing that the sensation was not just his alone, but shared by many around him. They walked together in silence, the only sound being their soft footsteps on the dewy grass. In the distance, a slight rustle of leaves and a hushed whisper of wind set their hearts racing. Mira said, "I heard my grandmother once tell a story of a hidden force that moves in the night. She said that when shadows talk, it means that a great change is coming." The thought sent chills down their spines, yet it also stirred a brave determination within them. Back in the village, Taven gathered the council once more. The medallion, which Arlen had discovered weeks ago, was now a topic of great discussion. Taven carefully examined its worn surface and the mysterious symbols etched into it. "This medallion is not just a relic," he said slowly, "but a guide. It holds the key to understanding the whispers of our land. The symbols tell the story of a time when heroes walked among us, and they hint at the return of a warrior who will rise from the shadows." Captain Roland's voice grew serious as he addressed the gathered council. "We have seen signs that are too clear to ignore. The restless animals, the shifting shadows, and the strange whispers. They all point to something powerful approaching. We must be ready to face whatever comes, for if these are the omens of an ancient force, then our destiny may soon be rewritten. The council decided to organize small patrols to explore the areas where the whispers were strongest. Arlen, Mira, and a few brave villagers volunteered to join one of these patrols. With lanterns in hand and hearts filled with cautious hope, they set out into the forest on a cool, clear night. The deeper they ventured, the more the natural sounds of the forest faded into a near silence, replaced by an eerie stillness that felt heavy with anticipation. As they moved along a narrow, winding path, every rustle in the underbrush and every gust of wind made them jump. Arlen's hand instinctively tightened around the medallion, as if it could offer protection against the unknown. Suddenly, from the darkness ahead, came a low, almost inaudible hum. It was as if the very earth was vibrating with a secret energy. The patrol halted, and all eyes turned toward the sound, their expressions a mixture of fear and wonder. The hum grew louder for a moment, and then faded back into the night. No one could see its source, but the feeling it left behind was unmistakable, a promise of something great yet mysterious. Mira whispered, "It is as if the land is calling out to us, urging us to prepare for what is to come." Her words were met with silent agreement. Even though their steps faltered, their resolve did not waver. In the weeks that followed, the whispers in the shadows continued. The medallion began to reveal more of its secrets to Arlen through vivid dreams. In these dreams, a strong figure emerged, a human juggernaut cloaked in darkness, with eyes that burned like embers of hope. The figure spoke to Arlen in a language that was both ancient and clear, urging him to trust the signs and follow the path of destiny. Thus, in the quiet and mysterious nights of the Emerges Empire, the shadows and whispers grew stronger. They connected the past with the present, hinting at a future that would be shaped by a force as old as time itself. The people, though filled with uncertainty, also felt a rising strength within them. It was the strength of unity, of shared purpose, and of a hope that even in the deepest darkness, the light of human courage would eventually shine through. And so, the stage was set. The calm was giving way to a whispering storm, a storm that promised to bring with it challenges and revelations. In every shadow and every whisper, the tale of a great human force was beginning to be told, a tale that would soon change the course of the Emerges Empire forever. The Awakening. Emerges Empire. As the days turned into weeks, the calm of the Emerges Empire finally began to break. The quiet that had once blanketed the land was replaced by a tension that could be felt in every whisper of wind and every rustle of leaves. The signs that had been growing in the shadows and whispers were now becoming impossible to ignore. One crisp morning, the village awoke to an unusual brightness. The sky, usually a steady blue, now shimmered with a strange light that seemed to pulse slowly. In the heart of the village, the people gathered in the central square, their eyes fixed on the horizon where the light grew stronger by the minute. There was a hush among the crowd, a mix of fear, excitement, and wonder. At the edge of the square, Arlen stood quietly, the medallion still warm in his pocket. For weeks, he had felt a growing pull from the token. Now, as he looked upward, he remembered the vivid dreams where a powerful figure had emerged from the darkness. The dreams had grown clearer, the image of a human juggernaut taking form with every passing night. Today, it seemed, those dreams were coming to life. Without warning, a deep, resonant sound rolled over the land. It was not the sound of wind or the murmur of nature, but a low hum that vibrated through the ground itself. The people looked around in confusion, trying to find the source of this strange noise. Suddenly, from beyond the tree line on the far side of the square, a figure began to emerge. The figure moved slowly at first, as if testing the weight of its own presence. With each step, the air around it seemed to grow charged with energy. It was a tall, imposing human form, cloaked in shadows that flickered like fire in the morning light. The figure's eyes burned with an inner light, a promise of strength and resolve. As it moved closer, the crowd could feel the power emanating from it, a power that was both comforting and fearsome. Tavin, the wise elder, stepped forward from the gathered crowd. His face was lined with age and experience, and his eyes widened as he recognized the symbols on the figure's cloak. He whispered in a trembling voice, "This is the human juggernaut of legend, the warrior born from our past trials, returned to lead us into a new age." His words spread like wildfire among the villagers, stirring a mix of awe and anxiety. Captain Roland, who had once led men into battle, tightened his grip on the hilt of his old sword. His mind raced with memories of past wars and the courage it had taken to stand against overwhelming odds. The arrival of this mysterious figure sparked a feeling deep inside him, a call to arms, and the hope that this warrior could be the key to protecting their home from the dark unknown. Mira, full of youthful hope and determination, stepped closer to Arlen. She clutched her hands together, her eyes shining with both fear and excitement. "Do you think this is the sign we have been waiting for?" she asked softly. Arlen nodded, unable to speak for a moment as he stared at the figure who had now reached the center of the square. The human juggernaut stopped a few paces from the crowd. There was a silence that felt as heavy as a stone, and every eye was fixed on the mysterious figure. The juggernaut lifted a hand, and in that simple gesture, a wave of calm spread over the people. The low hum that had filled the air slowly faded into a quiet murmur. In that moment, the warrior seemed to speak without words, a silent promise that their destiny was about to change. Slowly, the juggernaut reached into a pouch tied around his waist and withdrew a small weathered scroll. With deliberate care, he unrolled it and held it high for all to see. The scroll contained old markings and symbols that matched those on Arlen's medallion. It was as if the past and the present had finally met, joining together in one clear message. The human juggernaut's eyes swept over the crowd, and in them, the villagers saw both warning and hope. Tavin stepped forward once more, his voice steady despite the trembling in his heart. "Our legends have spoken of this day," he said. "When the signs align, the warrior of old returns to guide us. This scroll confirms what we have long believed. The time of change is here, and with it, a new beginning for our empire." The atmosphere in the square shifted from tense anticipation to a hopeful resolve. The villagers began to murmur among themselves, their fear slowly giving way to determination. They saw in the juggernaut not a harbinger of doom, but a protector who had come to lead them through the dark times ahead. Arlen clutched his medallion, feeling an even stronger connection to the warrior before him. The dreams, the symbols, and the growing energy of the land all pointed to this moment. He realized that this awakening was not just a simple return of an old legend. It was a call to all the people of the Emerges Empire to rise together. As the human juggernaut lowered the scroll, his eyes met those of Arlen, and in that silent exchange, a promise was made. A promise that the people would stand united against any threat that might come. With every heartbeat, the awakening of this great warrior rekindled the fire of hope and courage in every soul present. In that unforgettable morning light, as the figure of the human juggernaut slowly faded into the bright horizon, the villagers knew that their world was changing. The era of calm was over, and a new chapter of destiny was about to begin. One that would test their strength, unite their hearts, and ultimately lead the Emerges Empire into a future built on the courage of its people. Clash of Destiny. Emerges Empire. As the human juggernaut's presence settled over the village, a deep feeling of change swept through the Emerges Empire. The once calm days were now filled with the tension of an impending clash. The villagers, still reeling from the awakening of the legendary warrior, could feel that destiny was calling them to take a stand. Every face in the crowd showed a mix of fear and determination, and whispers of a coming conflict spread like wildfire. Captain Roland, the seasoned former soldier, took charge of the situation. He gathered a group of brave men and women who were willing to protect their home. With a firm but gentle voice, he told them, "We have long known of the legends. Today, we face our destiny. We must prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. His words gave strength to those who had feared the unknown. Now, the call to defend the Empire filled every heart with courage. Arlen, who had once quietly observed the signs, now felt the weight of his role in the unfolding events. The medallion in his pocket pulsed softly, as if urging him to act. His dreams had shown him the human juggernaut and the power that could change the course of their fate. Now, standing among his fellow villagers, Arlen understood that the time for hesitation was over. He vowed to help protect his people, no matter the cost. The first signs of the impending conflict began when dark figures were seen gathering at the borders of the village. These strangers, cloaked in mystery and shadow, moved silently as if drawn by an unseen force. They were different from the villagers, foreign in their look and strange in their behavior. It was clear that these outsiders had come with a purpose, and that purpose was not peace. At the edge of the village, on a cold, gray morning, the first clash occurred. A group of villagers, led by Captain Roland, met the shadowy figures near a quiet orchard. The air was thick with tension as the two sides sized each other up. The villagers held simple weapons, old swords, farming tools, and shields, while the strangers carried advanced, unfamiliar arms. The clash was sudden. A cry rang out, and the sound of metal striking metal filled the air. The once calm fields became a stage for battle. In the heat of the conflict, Arlen moved with determination. The medallion seemed to guide his every step, giving him strength when his limbs grew tired. He fought alongside his friends, his eyes fixed on the human juggernaut who had come as a beacon of hope. The warrior's presence was felt even from afar. His mere arrival seemed to change the tide of battle. The villagers, inspired by his legendary status, fought with the heart of a people who had nothing left to lose. As the battle waged, the clash of destiny grew fiercer. The strangers, with their strange techniques and advanced weapons, pressed hard against the villagers. But the people of the Emerges Empire were not easily broken. They fought not only for their homes, but for the promise of a new future. Each blow landed was a stand against the dark unknown, a declaration that the spirit of humanity would not be subdued. Captain Roland led his small unit to flank the enemy. His experience in past wars showed him that victory often came from unexpected maneuvers. Under his careful command, the villagers formed a circle, pushing back against the attackers. It was a desperate struggle, and the outcome was uncertain. The clash of swords and the cries of battle echoed through the fields, creating a scene that was both terrifying and strangely beautiful in its display of courage. Meanwhile, the human juggernaut emerged once again from the shadows. Standing tall and firm, the warrior moved toward the center of the battle with a calm that belied the chaos around him. His eyes, burning with a steady light, seemed to look into the hearts of both friend and foe. With deliberate steps, he intercepted a group of enemy soldiers who had broken through the village line. His actions slowed the advance of the attackers, giving the villagers a chance to reorganize and defend their land. Mira, who had been watching from a safe distance, felt a mix of fear and admiration. The juggernaut's strength was like nothing she had ever seen. His calm determination gave her hope that they could win this battle. The people around her, though scared, drew courage from the sight of the legendary figure. They rallied together, and with renewed energy, pushed forward to protect their homes. As the battle continued, the villagers began to turn the tide. Every swing of their makeshift weapons, every shout of determination, chipped away at the enemy's resolve. The clash was not simply a fight between two groups. It was a battle for destiny itself. The people of the Emerges Empire were fighting for their future, for the right to shape their own lives, and for the promise that their legends would live on. In the midst of the chaos, Arlen fought with a clarity of purpose. The medallion in his pocket, the dreams of a powerful juggernaut, and the unity of his people combined to forge a path through the dark. He realized that destiny was not something that was handed to a person. It was something fought for, in every breath and every beat of a courageous heart. The battle of that day marked a turning point in the Emerges Empire, the clash of destiny, as it came to be known. was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit could prevail. The valley resounded with the voices of those who dared to dream of a better future, a future built on the foundation of courage, unity, and the unyielding strength of a people who refused to surrender. The turning tide. Emerges Empire. In the aftermath of the initial clash, the battle for the Emerges Empire reached a new stage. The valley echoed with the sounds of combat, and the villagers began to find their rhythm amid the chaos. The dark figures from beyond the village had not retreated. Instead, they pressed on with renewed determination. Their strange weapons and tactics posed a challenge that forced the villagers to adapt quickly. Every moment now was a test of courage and resolve. Captain Roland and his band of fighters reformed their lines after the early skirmishes. They gathered near the remnants of a once peaceful orchard, now scared by the marks of battle. "We must not let fear rule us," Roland said with a steady voice. "Our strength lies in our unity and our willingness to fight for our home." His words resonated with the villagers, kindling a spark of hope in even the weariest hearts. Amid this struggle, the human juggernaut emerged again like a guiding light. He moved through the battlefield with a calm determination, intercepting enemy advances and providing crucial support to those on the front lines. His presence was a turning point. With every measured step and every deliberate swing of his weapon, he pushed back the invaders, creating pockets of hope in the midst of despair. Arlen, inspired by the juggernaut's bravery, fought with a fierceness he had not known before. The medallion in his pocket, now glowing faintly as if in tune with the warrior's energy, seemed to empower him. In the heat of battle, he found himself leading a small group of villagers through narrow paths between the trees. They moved like a single unit, their determination growing with every victory against the enemy's encroachment. Mira, watching the battle unfold from behind a fallen log, felt a surge of determination. She had seen the fear in the eyes of her neighbors, but now she also saw the promise of a brighter future in the resolute faces of her friends. Gathering a few other young villagers, she took on the task of carrying messages between groups and tending to the wounded. Her quick thinking and kind heart helped sustain the community, reminding everyone that every role was important in turning the tide of the fight. As the battle progressed, the enemy forces began to show signs of strain. Their advanced weapons, once a symbol of overwhelming power, started to falter against the raw courage of the Emerges Empire's defenders. The villagers, fueled by the unity of their community and the inspiration from their legendary protector, began to push the invaders back step by step. In the smoky haze of the battlefield, the clash between light and darkness grew ever more intense. The turning tide was marked by small, decisive victories. A group of villagers, led by Captain Roland, managed to capture a strategic outpost, a ruined watchtower on the edge of the field. This outpost, once a symbol of enemy dominance, soon became a beacon of resistance. From there, the defenders organized themselves, using the height to observe enemy movements and plan their counterattacks. Meanwhile, the human juggernaut faced a group of elite enemy fighters. In a display of sheer strength and resolve, he fought them one by one. His every movement was precise, his blows calculated and firm. The enemy's morale began to waver as they witnessed the juggernaut's relentless might. His fight was not just physical, it was a battle for the very spirit of the Empire. With each fallen enemy, the human juggernaut sent a clear message. The will of the Emerges Empire was unbreakable. Throughout the day, as the battle raged on, the villagers slowly gained ground. The enemy forces, realizing that their initial advantage was fading, started to retreat toward the dark forest from where they had come. Their hasty withdrawal created gaps in their lines, which the defenders exploited. Arlen and his small group raced through these gaps, capturing enemy supplies and sending back important information to Captain Roland. Each small success added to the growing momentum of the villagers' fight. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the field, the turning tide became undeniable. The invaders, battered and disoriented, were pushed back further than ever before. The once overwhelming force now looked uncertain, their dark presence diminishing in the face of the united villagers. In the fading light, the human juggernaut stood at the forefront of the advancing line, his silhouette a powerful reminder of what true strength looked like. The day's battles, though brutal, had ignited a new fire within the hearts of the people of the Emerges Empire. They had learned that destiny was not preordained by fate alone. It was shaped by every brave stand and every sacrifice made in the name of freedom. In the midst of chaos, the villagers had discovered a strength they never knew they possessed, and the turning tide was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As night fell over the battlefield, the defenders gathered around their makeshift camp. The scars of war were visible, but so were the smiles of relief and hope. They had turned the tide of destiny, and though the fight was far from over, a new chapter had begun. In every heart, from the seasoned warrior to the youngest messenger, there burned the promise of a future where the Emerges Empire would stand tall against any storm that dared to challenge it. A new dawn, Emerges Empire. When the dark night finally gave way to the light of a new day, the battlefield of the Emerges Empire was quiet and scared. The long, hard fight had left its mark on every face, but hope shone in every pair of eyes. The villagers, tired yet determined, gathered among the ruins of the orchard and the fallen watchtower. They knew that the war was not yet completely over, but the turning tide had given them a chance at a future they could build together. The human juggernaut, still standing tall amid the remnants of the conflict, slowly lowered his weapon. His once fierce gaze softened as he looked over the people who had fought with all their heart. In that moment, he did not seem like a warrior born for battle, but a guardian ready to guide his people towards a peaceful future. His silent promise filled the air, a promise that the time for conflict was ending, and the time for healing and rebuilding was beginning. Captain Roland, with his strong yet tired face, addressed the villagers. Today, we have shown that we are more than our battles. We have shown that unity and courage can turn the darkest night into the dawn of a new beginning. His words, though simple, brought comfort to everyone who listened. It was a call to look beyond the wounds of the past and to work together for a better tomorrow. Arlen clutched the medallion that had started this whole journey. Its soft glow was a reminder of the dreams and legends that had guided him and his people through the hard times. He understood now that the medallion was not just a relic of the past, but a symbol of hope and connection, a token linking the old tales to the new future they were creating. Mira, still full of youthful energy and determination, gathered with other young villagers. They began to clear the debris from the fields and set up small fires to cook simple meals. Their laughter, cautious at first, grew louder as they realized that even after the hardest battles, life could begin anew. They were ready to listen to the stories of their elders and learn how to rebuild what had been broken. As the morning light spread over the empire, the people started to see the beauty in the small things, a bright blue sky, the gentle sound of a nearby stream, and the soft chirping of birds returning to life. It was as if nature itself was welcoming them to a fresh start. The scars of war were still visible, but they served as a reminder of what had been overcome and the strength it took to do so. In the days that followed, the council led by Taven began to plan for the rebuilding of their community. They held meetings under the open sky, discussing ways to restore their homes and bring back the sense of peace that had once defined the Emerges Empire. The human juggernaut, now a revered figure, offered his guidance when needed, his calm presence a steady anchor in a time of change. The war had changed the land and its people forever, but it also taught them a valuable lesson, that destiny was not fixed. The future was written by every act of courage, every sacrifice, and every small moment of unity. With the enemy forces pushed back into the shadows, the villagers learned that they held the power to shape their own fate. Their bonds grew stronger, and they understood that together, they could face any challenge that lay ahead. At the heart of this new beginning was a sense of rebirth, A new dawn that promised not only survival but growth and prosperity. The people of the Emerges Empire began to rebuild their homes, their fields, and their hearts. They celebrated small victories, each one a step towards a brighter future. The legacy of their struggles and the memory of the human juggernaut became the foundation upon which a renewed empire would rise. As the sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow over the land, the empire felt a surge of hope. The dark times had passed, and in their place, a new day had emerged. It was a day filled with promise, a day where every person could contribute to a shared future, built on the strength of unity, the courage of their ancestors, and the enduring spirit of humanity. In that moment, under the bright light of the new dawn, the Emerges Empire took its first true breath of freedom. The journey was not over, but the path forward was now clear. The people would remember this day as the turning point when despair gave way to hope, and a new chapter in their history began, a chapter written by every brave soul who dared to dream of a better tomorrow.